it just spawned. It just dawned on me too. That blue side note is pretty good because remember what happened at Worlds? They lost because they never got blue side. It's like all of our strats. They're on blue. We never expected to always be on purple.
They've adjusted now. They're much stronger as a team. Xmithy, he's moving up. He does Q, so they're safe. They do have the ward there, or CLG has the ward there, but they'll be able to just do a normal jungle path. And then Chalster, he's actually going for a red first potentially. So we've seen that a lot in the past from Chalster, and it gives them the right timing where he can get up into the top lane and pressure Aurelia before Lee Sin can get up there. So it gives them a nice opportunity. Zuna actually coming to check down, sees they're not doing the blue. He knows, okay, Cho'Gath, he's at red. He's going to be making his way up top. He could go for a level 2 gank, particularly in the mid lane with the body slam of Gragas if they catch out Orianna. But we'll see what they go from there.
Yep. So here come farming there in the mid, just pretty easy. Hot shot. Zuna did come back. He did decide to back, heal up. You do not want to be entering lane half health. That's just never a good prospect.
Yeah, and Hotshot went back for the mana as well, but no one burning any summoners early on. But you saw,
that's the point.
You saw the early damage that Olaf has, and it's going to be an interesting lane. It's a skill matchup lane.
It is.
But Olaf, he has the potential to take down Aurelia.
And also, we got to take a little bit of notice down here in bot because we'll see how the push-oriented strategy here from CLG goes. Because you got Nunu with Caitlyn. Caitlyn has some of the best range. Was that the cleanse? No, it's just orb. She's not close. Orianna has the shield. What am I talking about? You got some harass going from Muffin Q just to keep double lift slowed. And Locodoco didn't actually go Blood Boil first, I don't think. Doesn't look like it.
Went with Snowball first, which is the stronger play on Nunu. The Snowball, it allows you to counter out any AD aggression, particularly against Lulu. So if you go the movement speed first from Blood Boil, then it'll allow double lift to harass a little bit more. But if Muffin QD was then aggressive with that Lulu pick, they would actually win the lane at that level 1. So you go the Snowball first. It's the safe route. Mandatory Cloud in this mid lane now, and this is right where we were talking about. With that body slam with Gragas, you can get quick kills, and Lee Sin will want to make his way down as well. But Mandatory Cloud, he's playing very passively because he knows that Gragas, the cooldowns are so short. If you hit one body slam on Orianna, you can follow up with a second one and pick up a kill, even just 1v1.
Yep. And there was a ward over there in the top river, so ManCloud did know about the presence of Chowster. You saw Xmithy making his way down, just stayed on the side of the river, up over on the ledge, right on the opposite side of the Wraith. So just in case Chowster did decide to get a little brave, he would be having the great position just to get the Q, be a presence and be a part of that team fight.
And so far, Mandatory Cloud's been using his ranged harass advantage to bully around Big Fat, but Lee Sin keeping an eye on mid as well, and we'll be moving up into the top lane, so we'll see what he can do there. But Chalster moving into mid again. There's the body slam. They get the slow. He has the mana to follow it up. The silence, the rupture doesn't hit. Mandatory Cloud, he's going to try and get this flash over the wall, but actually just backs off, so he's very low, but is able to get out of there.
Still no summoners burn there in the mid. Very very smart play, and also great utilization of the shield too, just to stick it out a little while longer. Xmithy here, top lane. Does a Hotshot actually see him? Is it, yes. Yes, he does.
Oh, no, he doesn't. He's right around the corner.
Oh, the other side, okay.
So he's right around the corner, even though it seems that he should have been able to see him. He did back up in the bush, but I think he was right in the shadows.
Wow.
And Cho, maybe he did see him. I think he did, because Chalster did come for these wolves. So some nice early jungling there. He has a level advantage over Lee Sin. And Lee Sin's generally a fast jungler, but Cho's a little bit faster. So he's taking advantage of that, and we'll see if he gets an early lead.
Yeah, Xmithy tried to make something happen, but you recognize...
Oh, rupture from the shadows.
There you go. Chowster coming on in. Onto the side. ManCloud, he's going very low. Does burn out. The flash was not ignited. Big Fat used it earlier, but Chowster did get pretty low on that attempt, so good on ManCloud. But Xmithy will be able to make something happen here in the mid. There's the Q just barely out of range of Chowster. That could have been huge, but at the very least, Lee Sin and his presence helped push CLG back. It is still a 0-0 kill game.
Yeah, that was really close. I thought they were going to be able to take out Mandatory Cloud there using the shadows on Cho'Gath, but bot lane so far, Lulu's had actually done some a nice job harassing, and Muffin QD is a very strong support. He really helps out Aframu a lot. So Aframu's been able to farm despite the fact that Caitlyn is probably the strongest AD laner in the game as far as harass and just controlling the lane. So we'll see what they can do there. Lee Sin, in the meantime, he's making his way up top for Hotshot.
So you got Aurelia. Zuna does get the slow, forcing the ghost out from Hotshot, but will it be enough? Xmithy just waiting for the right moment to go for that slow. Got vision in the brush. Will he be able to do it? You got the strike and the ignite, keeping him behind. He's got the health potion going, but it will not be enough. First blood going to FeaR's Zuna there in the top lane, and he's in a great spot now.
Yeah, Hotshot trying to juke back and maybe bait out the Lee Sin slow.
Yep.
That would have allowed him to get out of there, but just a little bit too far forward and no early wards to keep an eye on Lee Sin. So, that's kind of a failing on a lot of the NA teams that you see is that they don't drop those early wards like we saw from the previous games from like TPA and World Elite. But we'll see what he gets up there now to try and protect himself. Once he hits 6, he should be safe. He can play aggressively and know that he's going to be able to get out of almost any situation. But early level advantage kind of struggles.
But also remember too, we talk a lot about top lane, and a lot of the mentality of the pros is that top lane is an island. Not many teams actually make a lot of presence there in the top lane. They just kind of leave it to their own devices. But to see that aggression come on out is like, well, force them to buy the ward, force them to play a little bit more different than they usually would. And you see Olaf Hotshot, he did buy one, throws it down into the top river, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more protected. But if Smithy comes in through the top Shrybrush, he will actually still go by undetected.
And Chalster's moving in. He actually wants to get this blue steal. Lee Sin is backing, even though his blue is going to be up. So Chalster, he's going to move in with Gragas, and they're going to be able to take this. Lee Sin, he cancels that teleport, but they're in a dangerous situation. Loco Doco's here as well. They should be able to get the feast, maybe. CLG barely taking it. Can they get it? Yes.
Nice.
So Chalster, he actually does grab that in the end.
Without smite. Without smite.
Yeah, he's only level 5.
He's only level 5. Didn't even. The pressure was just not there from FeaR. And that was great, though. Great from Loco Doco to come on up, just in case. Get your snack on, get that blue steal. At this point, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as they can't have it, that's a good spot for us.
Yeah, and it was a little bit surprising. It seemed like Xmithy almost forgot about the timing.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like they were really prepared to control that blue. Yeah. And so losing the blue on Orianna versus Gragas is really key, because if Big Fat, if he can get his blue, that's going to allow him to outfarm Orianna or come back in this situation. And it's... they definitely both spam a lot to try and farm. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. It's just he's there in the wolf camp. He's like, oh, my blue respawn. I should probably stop backing. It's just like, oh, yeah.
So to be fair,
those timers.
To be fair, he did notice Gragas coming over, so he could have been recalling in case he just needed to get out. And he's like, okay, I can leave the recall going. If not, I can cancel it. So he gave himself options, some quick damage onto Aframu. There's the ultimate. Enough. Not going to be enough, just barely. The minions take him down. Aframu drops. And so Gragas going for the blue, but really awesome damage. The quick burst from Caitlyn and double lift. Caitlyn and Vayne have been his bread and butter recently. Yeah. If he wants the late game, he goes with Vayne. If he wants the early game, he goes with Caitlyn. So definitely taking advantage of that.
Shame. I'm pretty sure Muffin Q's shield would have been down because he's usually on point with that kind of stuff. And he also was not 6, did not have the ult. Hotshot blowing his ult, wants to get a little bit of push. Zuna actually using his also. But Xmithy is here. Jouster's here. No huge kills. Nothing really happening here top lane. Both of the junglers have great presence, able to dissuade the other. But those blue buffs being down now, Gragas benefits greatly from that blue buff. Keep on throwing those barrels, safe, passive farm. Orianna, though, really needs that blue. You're going to be throwing that orb every which way. So Big Fat is going to surge ahead in the farm here while that blue buff is still up.
And Orianna going with double Dorans as opposed to Chalice, which is Chalice has been kind of how we've seen Orianna's build for a while now as that first item. The double Dorans early on, it gives you some mana regen, but it gives you early game potential. It's a little more killing potential than Chalice gives you, and a little bit more survivability, which is key against Gragas, since Gragas is going to look to win those early fights. So an interesting decision by Mandatory Cloud. I think it's the right one, and we'll see what they can do. Xmithy moving down, he does have that Madred, so he can try and pressure Dragon. He does have enough to actually solo it. So if they get a pink ward over there, FeaR can actually solo the Dragon at this point with Lee Sin.
Also keep in mind, going back to the mid too, there's been a lot of presence from Chester to mid too, so that extra health is actually going to be coming in handy quite a bit.
Well, Chalster's generally, it seems, winning the jungling battle so far. It's the whole presence from his entire team, but he's very strong right now. He has 3 stacks. Yes, just now 3 stacks. So he's very tanky. 1,500 HP at this point in the game is pretty significant. So we'll see what he can do as far as forcing these early fights.
And we saw it, and we said this earlier with We versus Fnatic. A lot of people underestimate how huge those stacks are early in the game, how much of a difference an extra 100, 200 health can actually be in those fights, in those ganks. So we'll see if he makes any more moves. He's actually going up and around behind the blue buff area. He recognizes that the lane is warded, and actually got Gragas charging over the forest wall to Muffin Cutie and Aframu. I think they're a little bit unaware of what may be happening as soon as the wave pushes up. But Loco Doco along with Double Lift, they're going on Chowster and Big Fat, where you stick around. They know they see Lee Sin actually taking the Wolves. Will they do anything? There comes a Rupture down onto Xmithy. There's the barrel to keep him behind. You got the Feast coming in too, and the Ignite will be more than enough. Big Fat getting that kill on a Lee Sin, a little bit unaware.
Yeah, and they realize the blue, it's not up for another minute now, so it's kind of surprising for them to go into that blue side jungle, but that's exactly what they were thinking. They knew that FeaR wouldn't expect them to be there. Like it's not, there was no reason for Gragas and Cho to be there except to try and pick up kills, and so they tried grabbing someone out of position. They were maybe going to dive the bot, but they decided not to because the minions were pushing away from them, and Double Lift and Loco Doco weren't pushing the tower fast enough, so they catch Lee Sin, and that's a nice early advantage for them.
Yep. Also, going back down here to the bot lane, Afremu actually 25 creeps behind Double Lift, maybe a little bit more than that. And it is strange to see him in kind of like a defensive pose here in the bot lane. But Kog'Maw, though, he does ramp up quite a bit once he starts getting those early items. Get a Zeal on him, he should be fine. But it's just a matter of how big Double Lift can actually get. You already have the BF sword. Could be going for the Thirster pretty early on, too. And just all of that push potential that Loco Doco is providing. He's also got the GP10 for himself, too, so that's going to be huge.
And CLG, it looked like they might be going for a blue steal, but they back off last second. Yep. Orion is actually recalled, and so has bot lane. So it actually would have been an okay opportunity. But at the time that they were doing it, Caitlyn wasn't in lane, so they were concerned. They were like trying to decide. They're like, okay, Loco, can you make it up here? And he's like, Caitlyn's not here. All right, they back off. But now they're coming up to the top, and this is something that we're seeing from the new CLG, and we've talked about it in the past. We've seen from some of their matches that Big Fat is roaming a lot more out of the mid lane, which is not something you used to see. You used to see Big Fat, he had turned into a passive laner in that mid lane, but there's the Rupture, the flash even through, missing the silence. So he hits the silence, but it's not there fast enough, and Aurelia is able to back out of there. But Big Fat and Chowster, they combo perfectly together, and a lot of times, like for a while, CLG, you looked at Big Fat in the mid lane, and he doesn't really do a lot early in the game. He's not winning his lane as much as he used to. He's not pressuring the map. But now, recently, with this Gragas, we've seen him roaming all over the place. We've seen him putting pressure across the map.
I like what you said earlier. The new CLG is kind of like the reopening of like a burger joint or something. And this is definitely a different attitude, different play style coming from CLG, and it's refreshing to see this, to see them try and make these plays and be aggressive. It is significantly better than the boring old split push we are so used to seeing from these guys. But it's still true to their kind of play style. They still have this poke oriented team, but it just works so much better and so much more efficient than what they've run in the past. It is a beautiful thing to watch.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to see what timings they're looking for now. Yeah. Gragas, he's almost has enough for that needlessly large rod. Double Lift is almost done that Bloodthirster as well. And they have a team that's very strong in the mid game, so I really expect in the next couple of minutes we'll see them probably group up. Once they finish some of those early items, they're going to be like, okay, now is the point. We just finished Bloodthirster on Caitlyn. Now we're strong enough to try and push into their lanes or force an early fight. And we'll see how they can pressure it. And so FeaR, they have to be expecting CLG to be doing something like that at this point. So they need to be ready to swing into a lane and respond.
Muff and Cutie and Afremu have the lane for a little bit for themselves. Loco Doco did decide to go back, grab the Heart of Gold, so 2 GP10s on him. So he'll be having that income, a little bit of an income boost, but Double Lift still doing very well. Farming underneath tower, taking a little bit of damage, and this is Afremu trying his best to be aggressive, but still taking quite a bit of damage there from Double Lift in retreat. But this is also where the Lulu comes in. This is where Muff and Cutie comes in with those glitter lances for some of those slows. But this is just free damage for Double Lift, though. Just that blood boil, that extra speed boost is so vital to have. It doesn't, to a lot of new players, it doesn't seem like a lot, but that little extra speed does so much.
Oh, and Xmithy's being held up in the top. Hotshot, they might actually go for this. The tower is very low, so they are going to just back off for a second, but they're starting to pressure him down there. While the bot lane, the constant harass from Caitlyn, Afremu is now very low. He doesn't quite have the same lifesteal that Double Lift does with all of that damage, so he's able to heal up a little bit better. So that harass advantage is in Double Lift's favor. He's able to win that lane for them, and we'll see. Once they get that tower, that could just be the crashing wave coming down for CLG that snowballs them across the map.
It could be. And to see like all three tier 1s, if they were just collapse all at the same time, it's like, hey, how'd you like 3,000 gold for your team? That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. They may as very well get it. You got the Q. Don't even need the ultimate double. Will that be enough for a double? Forcing out the heal Loco Doco with the exhaust double for Double Lift. true to the name. Locodogo will go down here. No, it's not enough damage. Very well coordinated down bot. Didn't even need any help from the jungle because he's here top lane. You got Lee Sin, Zuna, the shield protecting from the feast, but will it be enough? The Ignite's still ticking, but Chowster actually gets kicked a little bit too close to Zuna. The turret shots, the tank is strong. You got Locodogo taking down bot turret, but you still have a huge fight down here.
Cloud and Big Fat are coming up, though, so it's going to turn into a 3v3, and it's actually a good opportunity. Xmithy, he jumps in.
Nice.
There's the W. They pick up that kill, but they're very low. Big Fat, he could get a double kill here. He wants to get in with these barrels.
One ultimate barrel could actually kill both Xmithy and Zuna if they're too close together. But they know they need to split up just a little bit.
Yeah, and he's zoned off right now. He knows there's a ward in the bush for the minion attacking him, but Big Fat not quite able to get in there, and it seemed like CLG was going to win that exchange, but in the meantime, they're going after the dragon. So kind of surprising. Xmithy on Lee Sin. That's one of the strengths of Lee Sin is your ability to win fights that it just seem impossible. You kite in and out, you jump in, pick someone off. And so it started off, it looked like Zuna was going to go down. Zuna seeming to do pretty well so far for himself. He's behind Hotshot and Farm, but hasn't gone down in these situations. So we'll see how the fairly new top laner for FeaR continues to progress.
And also remember that Lee Sin, he did invest a lot of points into the shield early on. So I think that those extra few points invested may have actually been the turning point, because remember, Zuna did get feasted. Chowster was looking for that straight-up snack kill, but did not get it. The protection, the team fight control from Xmithy was just a little bit too much there to handle.
Yeah, and a lot of times you see Lee Sin go for like 2 or 3 levels because it allows you to, for instance, solo Dragon and do all sorts of cool stuff. But maxing it out, like you said, it's a little bit more of a defensive play. It's not going for quite as many early kills, but it will protect his team. And he knows the rest of his team has enough sustained damage that he doesn't need any bursts from Lee Sin. And Lee Sin's burst on his Q early on in the game is nice, but in team fights isn't that significant. The flash out from Locodogo. So a little bit concerned there. He dropped a ward and didn't want to get himself caught out, so he backs off. But CLG, they're starting to move down. Big Fat is now in the top lane, and Hotshot is pressuring that mid. That's going to be a turret. So 3 turrets down for CLG.
In very quick succession, as well as a lot of global gold for CLG Prime, and they're going to be taking that to the bank. But the Orianna ult will not be doing anything to an ulted Olaf. Hotshot just strolls with that swagger walk right out of there.
Like you said, the quick 3 turrets, that's a 6k gold lead off of a 4-2 advantage.
Right.
So the game, it seems very even, and then all of a sudden CLG is able to take that advantage. And that's what we expected with this kind of mid-game comp that CLG is running. The question is, can FeaR hold off and get Aphromo in a situation where they have 5v5 team fights? They want these full team fights, and that allow Aphromo to really thrive. But we'll see if they can get to that point. Big Fat now controlling the top, so they're comfortable with Hotshot roaming now. And Big Fat has the mobility. He can move down from the top and keep Aurelia pressured there and then come to the mid. So it forces fights at their advantage.
Yep. And also, got Gragas and Cho just ravaging FeaR's jungle right now. It's like, hey, we found a red buff. Might as well take it for ourselves. And Xmithy looking to just harass Hotshot just a little bit, just to try and open up some opportunities for MainCloud actually farm. But while they're doing that, though, you have the ward. If that ward was not there, there would have been no clear. That could have been a very quick double kill.
Yeah, they would have been able to grab that very quickly, but Chowster so far has complete map control for them. You see the wards across the map for CLG, and then having that Oracles as well, so it's allowing them to do this really aggressive split push, which is where we've seen CLG thrive in the past.
Right.
And that's going to be difficult for FeaR to group. The biggest counter to a split push is one, stalling champions, but mostly you want to try and force engages. You want to try and pick up kills against people that are split off. But when CLG has complete ward coverage over this map, that's going to be very difficult for FeaR to do.
Right. But also, remember, too, one of the best things against split pushes is also the Baron. And FeaR, if they can manage to sneak it, you got the Wriggles on the lead, you got Aphromo Kog'Maw building up into that attack speed, that percentage-based damage. They do have a relatively fast team once they start itemizing well to grab objectives like Baron Dragon, if given the opportunity. But if this ward control continues from CLG, that opportunity is going to be very slim.
Yeah, but CLG, they're in a position right now where I would really expect them to group up and try and take down some turrets because they just finished the Rabadons on Gragas, and Caitlyn had already finished that Infinity Edge. So Infinity Edge, as opposed to the Bloodthirster, gives her so much more sustained damage, and I actually like that build a lot on Caitlyn. It used to be common to go the Bloodthirster, but one of the issues with Caitlyn late game is that she has no sort of ramp. She has nothing in her kit that scales that well into late game. Right. So she doesn't have a natural buff ability like Kog'Maw or anything like that. Yeah. Having the Nunu helps, but having those crits will give her the single target damage that she sometimes lacks. And being as far ahead as he is, Double Lift is going to be in a great situation now. So we'll see if CLG forces any fights.
The thing. Look how much farm you're ahead. You're 3-0. You have the money. You might as well spend it. You might as well invest. Get that advantage. You still have the Vamp Scepter 2 for that residual lifesteal. You don't necessarily need the Thirster to have your sustain in fights. Just the Vamp Scepter on its own is more than often sufficient.
And so we'll see what they're doing. They're still holding onto this bottom lane. They're not trying to be too aggressive here. They're just slowly waiting. Maybe they're actually trying to hide, I think, for the moment. So they have CLG. They have Big Fat pressing the mid, and I think they just want to group with Chouster, try and grab this tower really quickly. And we've seen CLG go for the tier 2 towers quickly sometimes, but we'll see if they can maybe go for it and if FeaR can respond.
Yeah, everyone's kind of just like, hey, this is your lane, this is my lane. But Chester will find that ward over by the blue. So FeaR must know something is up and something soon. Xmithy also taking out the Wolves. But we saw what happened the last time he was there, a little bit too far away from the rest of the team with CLG going in for the invade. So he knows I actually probably got here. There's it's probably not just Cho. I'm probably found out by someone else here. You got the Scream. Not going to be landing at silence, but you also notice too, Xmithy does have the oracles of his own, so it's just it's a ward battle, it's a vision battle, it's an information war, as we're between these two teams right now.
Yeah, and CLG's easily winning that battle. Xmithy does have an Oracles himself, but he's nowhere near as tanky as Shoyath is.
Right.
So, again, that was a concern with Fnatic versus World Elite. But Lee Sin, there's the threat that he's going to go down quickly in a fight, and once they lose that Oracles, that's going to be devastating for them. But as long as Xmithy can hold on to that, he can get rid of all those wards in their jungle, and you're seeing he's already gotten quite a few.
Oh, yeah.
But that's going to allow them to just passively farm, which is what FeaR's wanted to do so far, and CLG hasn't been forcing any engages. So it's allowing Kog to get later and later into the game, and if Kog gets farmed, you never know what can happen at that point. If they can protect Kog long enough, protect the front line, then he's just going to be devastating.
And he's itemizing correctly. He's going straight on in for the Infinity Edge. He knows he needs big damage, and he needs as much of it as he can very soon if he wants to stay relevant in these team fights. But the opportunities, they're going to be trying to go to counteract this blue invade. CLG does take it. Big Fat takes it for himself, and there's a pursuit come from Xmithy. He does with a little bit of vision.
Well, they can't fight him right now. There's no way for FeaR to come in here.
Look at Big Fat. The Big Fat's positioning right there. He's waiting for the prime opportunity. If he can get one barrel, if he can isolate anyone, he's going for the dash. There it is. Zuna parsed up against Wall. ManCloud now with the team. There is the Oriole. Getting 3 members of CLG, but ManCloud will be able to get out. He has a shield, flashes over the wall. He will be safe. Hot shot charges out in front with the ultimate. But Zuna a little bit too far away from the rest of the team, but there's the speed buff and the shield from Lulu, and eat a trap on the way. Hey, I made it out of that fight. Good for me. I deserve a cupcake.
And that's honestly surprising that they were able to get out of there, but the Orianna ult was just enough to dissuade them. So the Orianna ult is just perfect for controlling, but they're all low. They have to back off, and now CLG can maybe pressure mid, or maybe they actually might just transition into the top lane. So they're just keeping up this pushing pressure. There was never really a threat of them losing that fight. The only thing that could possibly happen was for them to not win it. So Mandatory Cloud doing a nice job getting him out of there, but it looked like they were going to die because I was honestly surprised when FeaR, when they walked right around the corner and they were going to kind of put themselves in a bad spot. I thought the Gragas ult was just going to instantly win the fight.
It was fortunate enough that the position just wasn't right, because if anyone got blown backwards into CLG, that would have just been an absolute disaster. The jungle walls did enough to actually keep people pinned, but not really displaced. And remember too, that if you have to move past a hard object, the remaining travel time does translate into a hard stun. And the members that were displaced and were stunned for that period of time weren't quite in the vision range of CLG, or were not quite in the most reachable of areas.
Yeah, but we'll see what FeaR can do here. You're right. The vision did have something to do with it. FeaR did a really nice job of kiting out of there. Yep. They have some nice movement speed. They were able to get the slows from Lulu and whatnot. But I don't know. We'll see what they can do. They're keeping all the lanes pushed, and so it's just constantly giving them nice farming opportunities. They build it into a 7K lead, so not that much more significant than the 6K, but you have this feeling that CLG is just waiting to pop and just waiting to just instantly win this game. And just take an inhibitor. So we'll see what FeaR can do to try and stop that.
And you look at the big damage now coming in from CLG. Needlessly Large Rod and the Chain Vest coming in onto the Big Fat. Going to be the Zonias later on in. Nunu has completed the Zeke's Herald, and that in combination with the Blood Boil. Doublelift may very well get to very close, if not completely at 2.5 attack speed, and that is the best item you can ever get onto someone like a support Nunu. And double Shirelias too to boot if they ever get there engaged and you want to secure it and make sure they're in position. You got to, just in case one breaks down.
Yeah, they want to know they can force a fight. And it seems CLG they want to force this Baron. They have the Oracles down there. There's the Rupture over the wall onto Xmithy. The barrel as well. Xmithy will drop very quickly. He does go down, so losing that Oracles. Zuna trying to force the fight here, but CLG wins it very quickly. Hotshot chasing down Muffin Cutie. Aphromoo nowhere near in position to take any damage. Muffin Cutie, the ultimate. The Caitlyn block onto Aphromoo. Big Fat does actually go down, and Aphromoo turns it around a little bit, but you saw the entire fight. Aphromoo, he wasn't even in it. I mean, they were not in position to be able to fight CLG, and CLG forced it.
Mandatory Cloud may also still go down here. You got the silence followed up by Rupture. There's a snack. There's a shot. Doublelift still managing to pick that one up. Mandatory Cloud just a little bit too far out. And they were in an okay position. FeaR was in an okay position. It was a 1-for-2, but now with Mandatory Cloud down for quite an extended period of time, CLG the arc. Doublelift, I didn't even know you could do that. I did not even know you could actually. Yeah,
it's one of the cool things with Caitlyn. A lot of times you can even sneak the Baron. If you, we've seen it before with like a Zubu where they would have dashes over the walls and to try and sneak it, but they take it very safely.
Right there, there's one little spot on the edge. There's a gem right there on the ridge. That is the point if you ever want to, dash or shoot, or in the case of Hotshot, want to Shyvana ult over. That is the spot. That's the one. And
it used to be there was a spot where you could smite over the Baron wall.
Yes.
But, that was removed a while ago, but they're able to get a really nice lead, 10k gold lead. Now Baron buff is on them. They have a team that's very strong at taking down turrets and poking at the turrets. So Orianna can clear the waves pretty effectively to try and stall them, but Gragas can zone them with his barrels while Caitlyn is just destroying FeaR's turrets. Yeah. So I wouldn't be that surprised to see CLG just make their way up right up in that mid lane. Though, who knows? Maybe they'll go for that split push again. They'll just allow Hotshot to slowly push down the top while the rest of them are in another lane.
Like, hey, guys, I'm a little reminiscent for our old strat. Can't we just do it once more for old time's sake, please? We're in a position to do it, might as well. But remember too that this is group stage, this is LAN, this is the big show. The best option you can do. We've seen teams also do it here in the previous matches of other groups. Play it safe. Do the right thing. If the game takes a little bit 5 minutes longer just to secure the victory, you might as well do it because there's a lot of money on the line here.
Oh, and you see Loco Doco just tanking that turret for a second with the Baron regen. They're going to be fine. Xmithy coming over the side. There's the Rupture. So seeing if maybe they can catch him out, but already a lot of damage from Doublelift. Look at how low that turret is. So putting a lot of pressure on that turret, and Big Fat, he's actually taking the blue. So once he gets that blue, he can group with his team mid, and they might be able to go for this.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle for FeaR to actually take stuff from their own jungle at this point. You saw how much of a crate that could have been a potential engagement and kill onto Xmithy just to simply get the race. That's how far behind they are. That's the position they're in right now. And Chowster and Hotshot, they're tanky enough to the point where they can just tank turret shots and not give a care in the world.
And that's really significant because Orianna can clear those minion waves pretty quickly, but for them to be able to just confidently tank those turret shots, it allows them to drop those turrets very quickly.
Nice.
This one, the barrel actually on the Zuna, it could force them back where they could get this shortly. Hotshot getting pretty low, but they force out the Shirelias, so he will have some regen there. But FeaR, they're all very low, and Doublelift just constantly getting that pressure on that turret.
Yeah, Hotshot was the primary tank of the turret for that first engage, but the poke may just be a little bit too much for the turret. About 2 or 3 more shots should actually do it. Hotshot going in 1, 2, 3, maybe 1 more, 4 for good measure. And that is the mid-tier 3 now down. The inhibitor now under duress. You got a minute and a half still left on that Baron buff on CLG Prime also, so they can still make huge, massive plays. But there's a Shroud. Nice Orianna onto the side. 3 members of CLG Prime caught up in that, but the inhib still goes down. It's just a matter of kind of very low Hotshot and a very low Chester make it out. I think they managed to clear the distance.
Yeah, so they back out easily with that Cho'Gath Rupture, but you saw FeaR was scared of CLG at that point. They know that CLG has a serious advantage, and they weren't able to get much damage from themselves. So FeaR just kind of trying to poke in, but never a concerted effort to prevent that take from CLG. So CLG just works their way in and bullies them off of that inhibitor, and that's going to be brutal. I mean, now with that inhibitor down, they can do the same thing in another lane and just try and slowly make their way in. The Baron will be down, so they won't be able to tank the turrets quite as aggressively as they were because they won't have that regen, but they can just slow push their way in now, and FeaR won't have that big of a say in it.
I'm also looking at Hotshot's build. He bought a 30-minute Warmogs That's it. He's got health. He's got a Doran shield on each arm, and he's got the Shirelias on top of his head. That's all he's got.
You don't need a lot on Olaf. He has so much base damage. I mean, he's just such a strong champion overall.
He's got the true damage. He's got the ultimate too. I mean, he doesn't need a whole lot. And mix it up with Chauster. You have Cho'Gath. You have someone you build up those fee stacks. You don't really need a whole lot on him either. So these are very, very efficient champs.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And efficient champs that are really strong in that mid game, so early to mid game.
Yes. And
CLG's been able to push their advantage from that. It's still only a 7-3 game, so it's not a heavy kill score. They're not forcing fights with FeaR. They're just slowly taking their map, and FeaR just kind of being left behind. CLG just took everything from them, and now they're going to be coming top. They can press down that top lane while the mid is still pushing against them. Doublelift should be able to take this before anyone actually gets there. So the second turret will be gone. Xmithy might actually go in for this. The flash, but Doublelift gets out of there barely, and now Xmithy is going to go down. The Lulu ultimate to try and get him out. They actually back off, but Zuna drops, and CLG's in a great situation here.
That's what I get for trying to protect the Lee Sin. Rupture going down, not going to be able to get anyone, but flashes in response and in defense, trying to close the gap. But CLG Prime now knocking on the top tier 3. FeaR has all decided to recoil back. Xmithy has no choice. He needs to return to the fountain, get healthy, and wow, just like that. Mandatory Cloud cannot escape the few sniper shots. No skills, no ult, anything used by Doublelift. Just sheer auto attacks and the Blood Boil were more than enough to kill Orianna. Now top inhib is going to go down. This, without the Baron buff, CLG is in still a huge position, but you have some free shots coming from Aphromoo. They still hurt onto Hotshot, but you still have the rest of the team still alive.
You compare it with Doublelift, and Doublelift, even though Caitlyn doesn't scale as well into the game as Kog'Maw does, in these team fights, Doublelift is just constantly attacking and constantly wearing down.
Right.
He knows he's safe because of their gold lead. He knows he can do whatever he wants. Whereas every single one of these fights, Aphromoo gets off like 5 hits maybe.
If he's in the fight.
Right, like he's barely pecking at him. He's like, oh, hey, each one of my attacks does a lot of damage, but he's not confident enough to control that front line because he has to deal with Gragas, he has to deal with Olaf, he has to deal with the damage from Caitlyn even. And so all of that early lead for CLG, it just completely shuts Aphromoo out of it. Even though Aphromoo's farmed pretty effectively. He's over 300 CS. Yeah. He has Infinity Edge. He has a Phantom Dancer, but he doesn't have the confidence with his team to be able to stand up and deal the damage that he needs to.
He's got Phantom Dancer and he's got IE. That's it. You look at Caitlyn. Not only does she have both of those, she also has a Bloodthirster on top of it,
and a Last Whisper
on top of it, and a potential QSS later on top of that. Essentially, two and a half full items over Aphromoo right now. That's amazing.
On Caitlyn, he doesn't really have much of a threat of being taken down by anyone. The QSS isn't really that necessary. Chaucer almost going down. You saw Aphromoo, he does have the damage that he needs. But Doublelift just in general, he knows that he likes the QSS. It allows him to constantly deal damage as opposed to the GA. If you go down with the GA, then you're kind of hurting your team because there's a couple of seconds when you're not attacking. So he's going to be very safe there. But CLG, this is going to be the final push most likely, and we'll see if they can win this.
There's Zuna. He knows it, so he's going to dash into Lulu ult on top, try and get 3 members of CLG popped up, but still gets very low and needs to retreat. Muffin Cutie going to be caught behind, and again, auto attacks helping out with Big Fat with 1 barrel to help get the kill onto FeaR. Mandatory Cloud's already out of it. The rest of FeaR is very low. Muffin Cutie nearly died, had to go back to the fountain, and CLG Prime takes the remaining straggling inhib and now pushing on into the Nexus. Aphromoo 3 shots. 3 attacks from Doublelift is more than enough to get the kill on Zuna. Charging on in, very brave, but not able to get a double kill for Caitlyn. And that is 2 members of FeaR left open. 1 member of FeaR left open. I'm sorry, that's a triple for Doublelift, and this should be it.
Oh, he's going for it under the fountain, but CLG with the impressive win over FeaR. 20K gold lead at the end of that game, but it was all based on objectives. They just